Okay, folks, today's course is Riverwalk Golf Course in San Diego, California. It is in almost downtown on the northwest side, just northeast of Mission Hills in San Diego. And it is in a rather busy part of the city. There's the Fashion District on the north side. There's Highway 8 that passes on the south side and curves around to the west and meets Highway 5. And there is a local street on the east side of the course. Sorry, and basically the course is surrounded by office buildings on one side, a BART train on the north side, a road on the east side, and the highway on the west side. So it's fairly noisy in parts, and there are significant distractions off the course that come into play. There's a big chain fence. It runs all the way around the course, so there's OB on quite a few of the holes, but a lot of the holes are tucked in the sort of the center of the course, and there's lots of opportunities to just play without worrying about OB. Some crossover from other fairways, certainly off the tee in some holes. You have to be aware that on a couple of the holes, you can stand in a tee box and almost get hit by balls just slightly off the fairway on one hole. But in general, while it is a fairly busy course, and when it's in play, there are a lot of interactions with other players, and there's a lot of environmental noise, and actually even some greenskeeper fouling when we played. I played on a Friday. The Friday was a wonderful Friday. It was nice weather, but it had been raining fairly substantially the past 2 days, and the course was swamped on some parts, and other parts certainly. There was no absence of water in the fairway, and even one of the holes had significant water damage. The hole that runs next to the creek the creek had definitely flooded out fairly well and had lifted the sidewalk up, the cart path up, and even though they have a cart path there, the whole course was cart path only. And on this hole, they had to run carts across the fairway in front of the green because the cart path was just totally blown out, maybe about 50 yards to the right in front of the green. So I say this is a decent course. It's nothing impressive in terms of the looks or really astounding in terms of the layout, but it did have a decent length, and it did have elevated greens. It had a lot of water just normally there, so certainly the course was wet and everything, but there were plenty of lakes and stuff crossing the course, lakes and creeks and so forth crossing the course. So quite a few of the par threes had water in front of them. Some of the par fours had water in front of them, and that was not counting the water that was in the fairways. Some of the fairways had standing water. I would say that this course would be significantly less wet in any other season than the winter, and basically it would be a good course in terms of a balance between wet and dry, and it wasn't too tight or too loose or too easy or too hard or too flat. It had some good verticality, certainly on some of the holes, and I think it's a 3x9 course, so on some of the holes you're hitting off even from the blue tees, not to mention the back tees. At the whites, I think they have whites and blues basically. Even from the white tees, not to mention the blues, you're still hitting off on some holes off of elevated tees to a lower fairway, and it definitely was a good challenge of golf in terms of basic shot making and playing, a variety of clubs, a choice of clubs, making a choice of clubs and so forth. But it wasn't so tough or so hard that every shot was super critical. You could certainly play makeup shots. You could certainly, there were some trees between the fairways, but nothing that would keep you from going through the trees into the other fairways that's where you went. And it was a good balance between, hitting the shots that you wanted to hit and trying to hit for power and hit for distance, and some, occasional English around trees and so forth, and staying out of water, staying out of the ponds and so forth. I think it was a good all-around course. Now, I would have liked to see it when it was not so wet, and certainly the last hole we played, the approach shot down to the green was all wet and muddy and so forth, and then it plays over water, and there was almost no grass there when we were trying to hit off the approach shot to the green. So that was definitely a challenge, but it wasn't so bad. I think you have to be a little careful under such conditions. Number one, to make sure you don't overpower yourself and come out of your stance or slip and slide all over the place. And the second, to make sure you get the ball up in the air when you need to get it up in the air. And it was good for that. Also, it was a decent course. I will give it a B. I certainly think it was worth playing. The course was $99 for non-San Diego residents and during normal hours, but it had twilight after 12 o'clock, so it was $45 for the cart when I played it. And the cart did come in handy. It was actually pretty straightforward. You know, again, when it's cart path only, you don't want to play away from the cart path. And so that added a certain element of skill to it, because you want to play center to right or center to left, center to the cart path, basically, not on the cart path and not too far off the cart path, because that's usually either in another fairway or OB. So it was good. I think in the general sense, it was good. The carts had GPS on them, so there was no question about the distances. They did have distances marked on the sidewalks, on the cart path, but not in the fairway. And overall, it just really was a solid round. I can't complain about it too much. It had some definite bright spots. Nothing was really bad on the course. There was nothing that was really outstanding, but there were some nice holes. Definitely an interesting course to play and worth the trip. And absolutely, I just feel like it's a B course at that. The environment was a little on the noisy side, but not too bad. And even playing in the rush hour, it wasn't too bad. I wouldn't say that it's one of those courses where you go out there and just lose yourself in the course. But on the other hand, it's not one of those courses where you can't concentrate or focus because there's so much going on. I did fault the greenskeeper on the second hole we played, because he sat there basically between two sets of tees with his engine revved up, you know, on a lawnmower. And, you know, it's like, okay, fine, we'll just go ahead and play. You know, you can't do too much about that. You know, it's there. You just have to play through it or around it. You just hope it's not outrageously obnoxious or outrageously annoying. If, you know, but there's some of that you deal with when you play golf. You know, maybe once a month or something, I have to deal with greenskeeper fouling. And it wasn't like the course was so grassy or so long that the guy was out there just mowing up and down the fairway, which I've seen, you know, more than a few times. Greenskeepers basically mowing a fairway in a hole or mowing the rough around the green, and doesn't understand that just stopping doesn't solve the problem. You need to get away, go away, and then, you know, we don't have to worry about you. They tend not to understand that. They want to stay there, and they think it's a concession that they actually stop and let you play. So there was a little bit of that, and you know, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like the guy was mowing the green. I've seen this once or twice. Guys mowing the green while I'm trying to play. That wasn't the case here. It has happened. I've definitely seen it happen in a couple of courses, but that wasn't the case here. So I would rate it a, let's say, not great, but not bad. Not awful, okay, in terms of greenskeeper fouling. Likewise for the road noise, there really wasn't any plane noise. There's no real air traffic in the area that I noticed, except for one traffic chopper that flew over the course. And in general, it was a decent, solid, not outstanding round of golf. But they have a nice clubhouse in terms of the pro shop. The snack bar is right there as you come into the parking lot. It's easy to get, you know, food or whatever. They had the cart late girl running around there. It was, you know, she was definitely not shy in terms of coming up to, you know, driving around. And the only really real problem I think the course has, other than the environmental, which I think is temporary, is that it is, in the middle of San Diego, and it was crowded all the way around the course. We were waiting for somebody ahead of us the whole time. And while it wasn't slow, it wasn't quick. It wasn't like we walked out there, just raced around the course at our own pace. And for 3 people, it was good. I think, you playing, twos or threes, it was good. Certainly enjoyed it. And I would say this is a plus, on the plus side of the golf courses that I've experienced. Now, I would actually say that I still say this, having played Torrey Pines South and not enjoyed it, and not just because it was raining half the time I played, but just basically just didn't think much of the course, period. I would say this course is not as lush as Torrey Pines, but it was more interesting. Torrey Pines South just was not an interesting course, in my opinion. It was just too mundane. Yes, there were some holes that were nice on the cliff and everything, but in general, it was just a plain Jane mundane course. And this course was more interesting, more of a challenge, more fun to play, and it cost a third as much to play. And it is no more than 5 miles from Torrey Pines. You can't beat that for a good deal. I think it's always a good thing when you have fun playing a course and it doesn't cost a lot of money. There's nothing worse than a course which is not fun, but it costs an arm and a leg to get on it. So easily, I would rate this course better than Torrey Pines South. I would say it was comparable in enjoyment to Torrey Pines North, but Torrey Pines North is a much better conditioned course, and it has some really good holes on it, and it's much longer than this course, so much more of a course than this course, but not outstanding compared to this course. I would have a really hard time saying, well, we can't take Riverwalk seriously compared to Torrey Pines North, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not. No, Torrey Pines North was not significantly better than this course. Less cheesy, yes, but not significantly better. So I didn't get a chance to play a fair number of courses in around San Clemente, between San Clemente and San Diego, not to mention south of San Diego, or east or south or west of east of San Diego, or northeast or whatever. There are a number of good courses in the area. There certainly are a lot of courses in the area south of LA, and I will never really have the opportunity to play them all. But the ones that I've played, I certainly would say this was one of the better courses and definitely a good deal. That's Riverwalk Golf Course in San Diego, California. Solid B course.